great caution, but I appreciate it. Ready?
Yes, Judge.
Ready for the defense? Bring them in.
Let's all rise for the jury, please.
Speech off.
Still working on that. Okay. Yes, sure, back and forth. Thank you.
Please be seated.
Proceed, please. Hope you'll have.
Detective, just to turn the jury's attention back to right when we left off, we had just watched the video that you said the defendant had accessed on his Lenovo computer. What was the date that he actually viewed that video on the computer?
It was viewed on June 13th. It would have been the Friday before the death.
So 5 days before Cooper's death?
5 days before Cooper was left uncovered.
Now, Detective, during the course of going through the defendant's emails as well, did you find other things relevant to leaving children in car and things like that, emails he had received?
We did.
You've shown defense counsel, it's marked. Actually, I've already shown defense counsel what I marked, the state 643, 644, and 645. Detective, I'm asking you to take a look at these. When you're done taking a look at those, let me know if those are emails from the defendant's email account, his main email account, where he received emails on different days regarding leaving children in hot cars.
Yes, these emails are all to rossharris00@gmail.
And are those actual printouts from the records that you have?
Yes, they appear to be.
You're not to tender those exhibits at this time.
Any objection?
No, we don't take that.
Admitted?
Now, Detective, first of all, I'm going to start. State's Exhibit 643. Who is that an email from, and what is the date?
Email is from, the subject is, from Leanna Harris on 1/30/2013 at 1:38 p.m.
So that's January 30th of 2013. Going back over a year before this incident, you received an email from her.
Correct.
And what was the subject line of the email?
The subject line is "Don't be this dad."
And what was included in the email?
A link.
And what was the link to?
The link is to a myfoxatlanta.com story. New York dad forgets baby in car for 8 hours on cold day.
Going to State's Exhibit 644. Is this an email that the defendant received? And then, what, if so, what is the date and time?
This is another email to rossharris00@gmail. It's from Quality Care for Children on 4/17/2014 at 3:05 p.m.
April 17th of the 2014.
14.
Okay, and what is the subject line of that, and what is the general content of that email?
Subject line is "Look Again," a message from Right from the Start, Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning.
And what does it discuss?
Right from the Start discusses that Dear Parent Guardian. It starts out by saying, one issue seriously jeopardizing the health and safety of children in and out of the child care is leaving a child unattended in a vehicle, often resulting in serious injury or death.
Is that the general nature of that email?
Yes.
Now, State's Exhibit 645, what is the date of the email and who it's from?
This message is from 5/13/2014, 3:42 p.m. And it's from Quality Care for Children also.
Okay, it's May 13th, just a little over a month before Cooper's death.
Correct.
Okay, and what is the nature of that email?
It says, this morning, Lennon is reported that yesterday another child, a 2-year-old in Clarkston, Georgia, died after getting locked in her mother's car.
And does it talk about the dangers, again, of leaving a child in a hot car?
It doesn't. It talks about "Look Again."
All right, thank you. Now, did you also receive work emails from Home Depot regarding the defendant.
True.
Okay, I'm going to show you it's already been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 314. Detective, well, first of all, Your Honor, I'm going to tender State's Exhibit 314 pursuant to a business record certification of Home Depot work emails belonging to Home Depot employee Justin Ross Harris. It's been certified pursuant to statute.
Any objection?
Again, Judge, I think the foundation looks appropriate, the certificate, but I guess my objection would be relevance. The other basis of objections I've made throughout the trial on 403 and character and whatnot.
They're noted for the record relevance.
Actually, Judge, these are records that tended to be, I think, gone into by the defense earlier. These are actually the defendant's work emails. The detective got those emails through the course of his investigation. I'd only submit and ask about emails that may or may not be relevant to the case at hand.
All right.
Tender State's Exhibit 314. Now, Detective, did Home Depot provide you all of the emails from the defendant via his work email?
They did.
Okay. And just going to the early morning hours around 12:40 a.m., did the defendant actually send an email via work?
He did.
Okay. And what was it in regard to?
I don't recall.
Do you remember the exact nature? Okay.
I do not.
Did he
Sorry.
send an email at 12:40 a.m. about a project he was working on and that he wasn't able to actually do it or complete it?
That's true.
Okay. Now, before 12:40 a.m. and after 12:40 a.m., as far as looking at his text messaging, kick messaging, and whisper messaging, did he continue sexual conversations both before, leading up to that, continuously, and after that for at least another 10, 12 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to turn your attention to, in this case, you've got reports and an extraction from an iPhone 4, which was the defendant's work phone, correct?
Correct.
And then also from defendant's personal phone, the iPhone 5, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Could you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury first about the iPhone 4? Were you able to get much information extracted from that phone?
No.
Okay. Did it appear that there were, was it a limited amount of calls that were still on that phone?
True.
Okay. Were there some relevant to other witnesses that have testified that we can go into in a little bit, though, that were still reflected on that phone?
Yes.
Okay. Going to the iPhone 5, back in 2014, did you guys do an initial extraction and a report was done using Celebrite?
We did.
At some point, did High Tech go in and perform an updated, with updated technology, extraction and report, or not an updated extraction, but a new report using the same material obtained back in 2014?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, compared to, let's start with the Whisper app. Back in 2014, when that was done, were you able to, well, first of all, were you able to identify that he used, or there were things from an application called Whisper on his phone?
Yes.
Okay, and how did you locate that? How did you find that back then? What did you notice about the phone and some things that you were finding?
Several images were saved to the phone, and they appear to be Whisper. Once again, it's been explained already, but you know, the Whisper app where you can put your whispers or your secret thoughts out there on the internet.
And at that time, did you actually look into what Whisper was and try to figure out if you could ascertain how to get records and things of that nature?
We did.
In those specific images, did you find one in particular note, an image that was on his phone from the morning of June 18th, 2014, the morning of Cooper's death?
We did.
Okay, and which image was that in particular that we've already seen here?
It's the one from Always in My Feelings, Married with Children.
Okay, and is that the one with the red background? I hate being married with children.
Yes.
Okay, Now, at the time when you first discovered that in the images back in, was that after the probable cause hearing at some point?
Yes.
Okay, before the summer you discovered that image?
Yes.
Okay. And in this case, after the probable cause hearing and after indictment, has there been a ton of information and evidence that you found since then relevant to this case?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you initially saw that that image, did you did you want to track down and figure out if the defendant created it, viewed it, or something else?
Of course.
Okay. And what did you guys try to do initially to ascertain as to whether he created it or whether he viewed it, at least, on the morning of June 18, 2014?
We did access the phone to look at the Whisper, see if we could find a Whisper app on the phone, to see if it was still saved in that Whisper app.
Did you find any application at Whisper on his phone?
No, we could not.
Okay. Kick, did you find any application, the Kick application on
We
his
did
phone?
not find
anywhere?
the Kick application either.
After looking on the phone to try to locate how he used this application, computer, phone, whatever, did you then look at the image and try to look at the details or properties and figure out, is this something he actually viewed? Is it something that popped up on there? Or is it something he created?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And when you sat around, who did you talk with and bounce ideas off regarding this?
We talked to Harvey Smith. Of course, he's already testified in this hearing, in this case, trying to figure out where this came from. We ended up doing a court order.
Well, did you think there was a possibility initially that it could have been the defendant?
It was possible.
Okay. Based on the context of what was posted, was there also some suspicion that it wasn't the defendant?
Yeah, because it said multiple kids and, my children as opposed to, my child.
Okay. So it was plural as opposed to...
Yes.
Okay. At that point, did you contact Whisper at some point that summer in the month or so after the probable cause hearing, a month or two, to try to figure out how you could go about obtaining records?
We did.
Okay. And what did you learn and what did you do in response to that?
With Whisper, you have to send the actual post. You can send them the actual Whisper. They will track all the Whispers that are attached to that, specific Whisper. So we actually took that one, from Always in My Feelings, and that was sent off to Whisper under a court order.
And when you sent that off, were they able to give you records for that user?
They were.
Okay. And what did you find out about? Were you able to identify specifically who that person was?
No.
Were you able to figure out that definitively the defendant was not the one who wrote that post?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
He did not write that post.
Okay. How did you figure that out?
Going with the rest of the, rest of the post on there, it sounded like a wife who was in an unsatisfactory relationship.
And was this pretty soon after you guys started discussing? About how long was it after you guys started looking at this image on his phone?
That wasn't very long after.
Like a month or two, something like that, or do you have an estimate?
I had to estimate about a month, maybe,
Okay.
at the most.
So you get it, you find out it's another user. At this point, again, did y'all start trying to figure out, hey, has the defendant actually viewed this?
Correct.
Okay, would you found that relevant that he viewed this post on the morning of Cooper's death?
Yes.
At that point, had you kind of hit a dead end? Was there anything further as far as what y'all were doing that you could figure out to try to locate any records for this, or if there was any type of messaging whatsoever?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay. Did you have any idea that there would have been messaging as to this message at all? Anything on that phone at that point?
Talking to Whisper, they said that you can comment on the different Whispers, and so we believe that there's comments, possibly, but we couldn't find any.
All right. So, did there come a time, I guess, in summer of 2015 when High Tech was asked to then go back and look at it again?
Correct.
Okay, and did they actually look at the phone again, or were they, as far as the Celebrite that was run with the new report, did they use the same extraction pulled from 2014?
They used the same extraction.
And what was the purpose? Why did they go back into it to try to look and verify?
Celebrite is a program that is used to, it takes the data and kind of sorts through it. There was an update to Celebrite, and so Detective Smith said, well, let's go ahead and we'll just run it through the new Celebrite and see what information comes out of that.
When you did that, were you able to get a ton of more information from the phone on the next Celebrite report in 2015 than you were from the one that you had before probable cause, after, and leading up to indictment?
Yeah, there's a lot more detail.
Were you able to, in the midst of this, were you able to actually go through and see, recover text messages between the defendant and his wife and statements he had made to his wife in the months leading up to this?
Yes.
Okay, Detective, I'm going to show you what I marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 637 through 642. Just going to ask you to look up through all these first and let me know when you've finished looking through them, and then let me know, are those messages, some messages that have been extracted from the phone regarding the defendant's conversations with wife and statements that he made.
Yeah, they appear to be between Leanna Harris and the defendant.
And are those from the phone exactly?
Yes.
Okay. Now, were there many other text messages between them back and forth?
Yes,
And are these just ones that have been selected out for specific purposes?
that is correct.
Your Honor, I've attended those exhibits at this time.
Any objection?
I don't think so.
There's nothing.
All right, Detective. I'm going to start with. Should lead you in the same order. States Exhibit 637 and 638 going together. Looking at 637, I think this is the first part of the conversation. Going into 638, I know we talked about some earlier text messages. Had you learned that the defendant was actually applying for a job with Chick-fil-A and about a little over a month before the death of Cooper?
That's true.
Okay. And at some point, does he discuss that, how he's feeling about that on May 9th regarding the interview with Chick-fil-A?
He does.
Okay. I'm asking you to start at the bottom of page 637 and go on to 638. The defendant at 11:45 asks his wife, "What's wrong?"
All right, 5/9/2014, 11:45 a.m. From defendant, what's wrong? Leanna Harris, I'm just frustrated about my div hours, DIV hours.
Okay, and let me ask you to stop right there. Do you know where she was working at the time?
At that time, I still believe she was working as a dietitian.
And do you remember the name of it?
Davita.
Okay. Okay, her DIV hours. What was the follow-up to that?
So he says, not enough, and by he, I mean defendant. Leanna responds, no, the allocation of it. Leanna's like, we could talk later. Defendant, having issues. Sorry, defendant, sorry, I'm depressed today. I haven't heard from Chick-fil-A, and that worries me. Leanna, I'm sorry, honey, I'm sure it's nothing. Defendant, going to get Cooper. Leanna, okay. Smile face emoji. Leanna Harris, I'm texting you a number so I can click on it and then call. And defendant says, okay. She sends him a number, 912 number. Leanna says, I'm at the movies. Thanks for letting me go with short notice. Love you. Defendant says, no problem. Smiley face. Want me to continue?
Is that the extent of the conversation about Chick-fil-A? He
Yes.
said he's worried about the Chick-fil-A.
Mhm. Okay.
Now, I'm going to turn your attention to States Exhibit 641. Now, in this, in addition, there are a couple of things that I think we've discussed that were brought up in this text message, okay? First of all, we talked a little bit about May 12th and how you could figure out that when the car seat was actually put, the forward-facing car seat in the defendant's car.
Correct.
May 12th, State's Exhibit 641, does this reflect that conversation? Starting at the bottom at 7:48 a.m. on May 12th, message from Leanna Harris.
It does.
Okay. And what does Leanna Harris text him at that point?
She's like, call me ASAP, ASAP.
Okay. And what was the defendant's response? Or did he respond, or what was the next message?
She says, she starts talking about if I turn around now, it'll be more than an hour if I can get home. She says I have the car seat. She's like, you have the option to either install the car seat, the other car seat, or work from home.
Now, at this point, what are these times of these texts, and has the defendant responded yet?
Now, 7:50, 7:54, you have the options to install the other car seat. 8:09, I would just install forward facing, that'll be easiest. 8:24 a.m., I'm sorry, I screwed up this a.m.
At that point, has the defendant messaged her back at all?
No.
Do you know if he possibly called her or not?
No.
Okay. At some point, what is the next message regarding the car seat?
8:43, the defendant tells her Dan and Aaron had Joe facing forward during football season. And then he states right afterwards, Cooper will be today. I see no other option. If we're in an accident, that thing is in double.
In double?
In double.
Okay.
Is in double. Man, it's like, cool, I'm sorry. I think he's ready for it. Defendant, I'm so frustrated this morning. I want to scream, and I'm hungry. And Leanna's like, because of me? And she's like, no, you're hangry. Defendant's like, no, just that damn car seat. None of the clean shorts he has fit. My sinus is sucked today. Work stuff is being stupid. I'm just now getting him to daycare. And that was at 10:09 a.m. Then he states at 10:19 a.m., sorry, I was taking Cooper inside. Leanna's like, call me. Defendant's like, I will after my meeting here in a minute.
And what does he say about it, his meeting that morning?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut in this meeting. And she's like, okay. And then at 10:23, he states, I'm just in a foul mood. Leanna says, I'm sorry, it's my fault. He's like, no, it's not. I'm just very overwhelmed today. No go with Chick-fil-A. That was at 10:56 a.m. Great. I wonder what's next. And Leanna's like, call me.
So at that point, when we talked about the car seat and things like that, and the defendant not getting the job at Chick-fil-A, is all that reflected in that text
That is.
message? Okay, thank you. Okay, we talked a little bit about vacation discussions between them being defendant and his wife about their vacation for Memorial Day. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 642. Could you please talk about the times and who is messaging who in this conversation about Memorial Day?
Starts off with Leanna Harris. This is at 5/6/2014, 12:53 p.m.
And how does it start out? And
She's like, I'm sorry, frowny face emoji. And then there's nothing in his response. Leanna Harris like, I don't know what that is. Didn't your brother say they might come this weekend? Defendant, Jason asked me if I'd go to Tybee Island Memorial Day weekend. They weren't sure. In Savannah. And Leanna's like, I'm not sure what to say. I'm sure it's not free, so what do you think? Leanna, I've spent too much time away from him over the past month. Frowny face emoji. What do you mean? He will go with us.
And who is that from?
And that's from Leanna also.
Okay.
And then the next message is from the defendant. It'd be nice to get away and sew something fun. Just have to figure out the Cooper situation. And then he says, no, without him. Okay. Leanna's like, mother issue, I don't know you care. And I know you don't care. But I really don't want to be in a swimsuit. She talks about being in a swimsuit.
Okay.
He comes back, they talk about wait a little bit. He comes back and says, I just think it's nice for us to do something away from Cooper. Okay. And Leanna's like, I wish we could do it with friends we never see like Billy. She talks about some family.
Thank you. Now, just regarding, I guess, defendant and his ability to able to smell the sun and things like that. Is there a text in here from May of 2014 about that?
Yes.
Okay, showing you States Exhibit 640. Just going to ask you to read the first three messages, the time and date on that.
All right, this comes from defendant, 5/8/2014 at 1:19 p.m. He farted this morning while I was putting him in the car seat. I almost threw up. I thought he pooped.
All right. Now, we talked earlier, we've talked about, well, in your investigation, do you remember the investigation regarding a woman by the name of Daniela Doher?
Yes.
Okay. And on May 31st, the defendant allegedly going to pay for sexual services from her.
Yes.
Okay. Did you recover any text between Leanne and the defendant where the defendant is telling her what he's doing that day and where he is during that time period?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show you States Exhibit 639. Starting on May 31st, let's just start with the first message, just to cover it all, at 9:19 a.m., who it's from, and what time, and what they are actually sending, okay?
Right, you want me to continue on after that?
Yeah, and just start with that and go on to the next few pages and tell the jury what those texts say.
Okay, this is going to be from Leanna, 5/31/2014 at 9:19 a.m. What's the passcode to the pool? Defendant answers 425. Yay. He sends a picture, possibly a truck. It's kind of small.
Okay. From the text or the I guess the context of these texts, what was he doing that day? You said it was a truck or something of that nature.
For the context, it looks like he's helping. It's the day he's helping Alex move.
Okay. Okay, you can continue now. After that picture was sent of a truck, what is the next conversation?
Leanna says that's not a real truck. LOL. Looks like one of Coop's trucks. Now our truck. That was a real truck. There's a picture that's sent. I can't see who's in it. Leanna, and I get it. It's Kristen. LOL. Alex is looking like you. Is looking at you like, whoa, pretty lady.
And is that in regard to that photograph that's above?
Yeah.
Does it appear to be the defendant and somebody else, another girl?
It's really small, but
Okay.
I believe it is.
Okay. And after Leanna makes a comment about Alex and how he's looking, how does the defendant respond, and what time would that next message be?
11:40, randomly running to her and the FA that just quit. 11:40, Leanna's like, oh, Christine. At 1:55, he comes back, moving sucks, the defendant does.
Okay, so when you say he comes back, he messages her, moving sucks.
Yes.
Okay, how does she respond, or what happens next?
He talks about, although a small Penske, parking that thing in Midtown, holy crap, we're going to get in Alex's pool.
What time is that message?
This is all at, the last message was at 2:14, 5:31.
Okay. After he talks about getting in the pool, what's the next text or conversation?
Leanna responds, well, when are you coming home? It kind of sucks spending the whole day alone. And that's at 2:30, 2:33. He says very shortly, 2:34.
Okay, so at 2:34 he says he's going to come home very shortly.
Correct.
Okay. What is the response after that?
She says okay. And then at 2:46, she says, I think we may go back down to the pool. Glorious nap time is over. And then he responds, oh, a nap, that'd be nice. Leanna asks him, what will we eat for dinner? We have no meat. Defendant's like, I'll get a meat, chicken. She's like, no, get beef and let's make spaghetti. She's like, I don't know. He's like, okay, I'm leaving soon, honey. I'm sorry, I'm leaving soon, honey.
And what time is that message where he says, I'm leaving soon, honey?
3:02 p.m.
Okay.
We took the mini truck back. Leanna's like, we'll stop by the pool if you come home soon. And then at 3:55, Leanna's like, are you coming, or she's like, coming home yet? 4:02, Leanna's like, hello. 4:02, he's like, the defendant states, yep, about to leave, going to my car. 4:34, just dropped Winston off, going to get beef. Leanna responds at 4:35, okay. They talk about, Leanna asks, please tell me you aren't playing tomorrow. He Just like I am, frowny face emoji, 4:36.
Okay, when you say playing tomorrow, let me ask you this. Was this, this day was on a Saturday? When he was
That's
helping-
correct.
Okay, so the next day would have been Sunday?
Yes.
And what does he play? What would he
He
do?
plays guitar in his church band.
Okay. So she asked him, I hope you're not playing tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. And after that, what time was that message?
That's at 4:36.
Okay. And what is the next message after that?
He's like, I am, frowny face emoji, 4:36. Leanna's like, ugh, okay. I guess, Leanna, you weren't thinking about the fact that we're leaving Wednesday for 4 to 5 days. Frowny face emoji, I've missed you today. And also, if you like crescent rolls, Cooper says, please.
Okay. What time was that where she talked about saying, I guess you've forgotten that we're going to be gone for a few days and we miss you? Or she
That's
missed
at 4:38.
4:38 p.m. Okay?
All right, at 5:01 is when she says, and also if you would like crescent rolls, Cooper says, please, exclamation point, times 3. He's like, defendant, LOL, okay. Defendant, leave the store in a second. That's 5:30. Anything else? 5:30. Leanna's nah. He says, okay.
And what time is that?
And that is at 5:33.
About 33. Is there anything further in that conversation?
Nope.
Now, I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 646. Now, are you familiar with the UTC codes and when something is in our UTC 0, backing it up 4 hours to make it accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So if I show you something that's in UTC 0, you can basically compute what time it is?
Yes.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 646. Okay, Detective, showing you State's Exhibit 646. Do you recognize 646 as the call log from the defendant's iPhone for his work 470 number?
Yes,
Okay, and is that a fair and accurate call log from that phone that you guys got?
it is.
Okay, Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 646.
I don't object to
It made it.
And what was the number of the iPhone? This is actually directly from his phone, not from phone records or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
And what phone number did he have?
He had, this is going to be his work phone number, 470-564-9087.
And is that the number that actually came from the phone, or is that a number from a report?
Number from the report.
Okay. And whose report is that?
No, this report is, my report says 470-564-9087. You're talking about his iPhone?
His iPhone, yes.
His iPhone, my report.
Okay.
That's
So-
the iPhone number.
Okay, not the one that Detective Escamillo put?
No, Detective Escamillo, though, swapped out, it appears he swapped out the 8 with the 5, or the 5 for an 8.
And did you verify the real number by doing the actual iPhone extract and from looking at the actual phone?
We did.
Okay, and looking at the actual phone, looking at State's Exhibit 646, this is in UTC 0,
That's
correct?
correct.
And when you back it up 4 hours from the time listed, would that be the accurate UTC number for purposes of when calls were made?
Would be.
Looking at May 31st, are you familiar with the phone number for Daniela Doer?
Yes.
Okay, and what is her number?
678-360-0318.
And is her number listed in the call log from May 31st, 2014? Looking
Yes, it is.
And at what would have been 4:51 p.m., while he's in the middle of texting Leanna back and forth, and she's talking about wanting him to get home and they miss him and things like that.
That's correct.
First call to her is at her being Daniela Doer, 4:51 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Should he make another call to her at 5:10 p.m.?
You did.
And does he make a third call to her at 5:14 p.m.?
He does.
So while he says he's moving and running around and getting groceries, he's actually going to see a
Objection,
prostitute.
leading.
Sustained.
Okay. What was he doing?
He was making phone calls to down door, who stated that she was a prostitute.
Now, in addition to that, looking at some of the other numbers on the call log, Googling those, do they go back to escort services and things like that on different days?
Many of them do.
And also, Janie Meadows, do you see her number reflected here, the 706 number, a call on May 9th and May 8th as well?
I do.
A couple of other follow-up questions now. First about the just the investigation to start with. When you looked at, even initially, looking at that first phone extraction, the report on his iPhone 5, he being the defendant's, did you note conversations with several other women on that day that were sexual in nature?
We did.
Okay. Did those messages, some of them, actually start and were messages sent before he took Cooper to daycare?
Yes.
Okay. And were they after?
Yes.
So the statement was made that there was no sexting before Cooper was taken to daycare. Would that be correct or incorrect?
Objection. It's obviously leading.
Thank you. You can go ahead. Would that be correct or incorrect?
You'd be incorrect. There's texting done before and after.
Okay.
Or sexting, I'm sorry. Would be a better way to put it.
So as far as you knew back originally, before the PC hearing and then before indictment, what you had was the kick messaging, and you had about how many women can you estimate that you thought at that time?
Just that day, 6.
Now, once you recovered, you had the new report that was done that actually picked up other messaging, and did it uncover chats between the defendant and other people via the application Whisper?
Yes.
Okay, and can you approximate about how many conversations did he have going on that day on Whisper and Kick combined, starting at 12 a.m. going until after he had dropped Cooper off?
I believe the last time we looked was 37.
And were many, if not most of these, sexual in nature?
Yes, many were.
In addition, I know we've talked about the messaging both before and after the 1240 Google search and the 1240 work email. Starting up about, did the defendant tell you that his son had woken up early that morning?
He did.
Okay, and about what time, if you remember?
5:30.
Around that time, soon thereafter, 5:40, 5:50, did the defendant, looking at his phone again, was he starting to message women almost immediately after his son would have woken up?
Yes, he was.
Now, when he talked about his son waking up, in his interview, what does he say his son did? Did he stay up or did he go back to sleep?
That his son went back to sleep.
And did his son sleep later than usual?
Yes, his son slept in.
After the messaging goes on 5:40, 5:50 in that time, is there a break until about 7:22?
There is.
Does the defendant then start messaging again on the Whisper app and then on Kick as well?
He does.
Now, we've already seen the message and what was found later by detectives, and I think by Detective R.B. Smith, regarding that Whisper post and the defendant's responses back and forth with "always in my feelings," correct?
Correct.
And about when was it that was actually discovered, that conversation?
That actual conversation?
Yes, just ballpark. When was it that you guys actually said, "Okay, we now have this evidence"?
Are you talking about the very first time we saw
No,
it?
I'm sorry. That was
Stuff.
it's getting late in the day, and I'm
Yes.
getting more unclear than less clear than usual. I can't even talk. All right. So, when was it that you actually found out that he had had a conversation back and forth? When did y'all first discover it? If you can ballpark around what year was it? First of all?
2015.
Okay. And was it in summer into fall sometime when you found this out?
I think October 2015.
Okay.
I want to say the second, I'm thinking when the second one was done. 2015.
So, well past probable cause hearing, well past indictment.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we've already looked at that and the time frames that morning relevant to Chick-fil-A and when he would have been driving and things of that nature. Did you also, in the midst of this, discover other chats or messages that the defendant posts he responded to regarding his marriage, leading a double life, and things like that?
Multiple.
Also, well, first, let me ask you this. During some of this messaging, did the defendant actually take screenshots, or did he send screenshots regarding anything regarding the laws of the state of Georgia?
Yes, he did.
Okay, and what was that?
Age of consent.
Okay. And was he actually sending this to other people he was messaging with?
Yes.
And what were these other people, basically to show context of what he was saying, what were they saying to him?
Or some were saying that they were too young or too old, and he would send the actual age of consent.
Okay. Now, was this in any way relevant to the crime of sexual exploitation of children?
No.
Okay. And when he would send that, would they be screenshots?
Yes.
Okay. So, having done screenshots and searches for that, looking at his phone, did you find any web searches previous to June 17th?
None that I found.
Okay. So there's nothing on the phone from that?
Not that I can find.
Is that to say that he never did any web searches other than those 2 days?
No.
Okay. I'm going to show you regarding this, the age of consent and things of that nature. States Exhibit 613. I've already shown it to defense counsel. Showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 613. Ask you to take a look at that. Are you familiar with this string of messages to a whisper on January 26, 2014?
Yes.
And is this an actual printout of the text message or chat message on whisper between the defendant and another party?
Yes.
Your Honor, I tender States Exhibit 613 at this time.
I'm going to object on the grounds that we have previously argued. In addition to that, I'm going to object on remoteness. I think he said this was from January 26th of 2014. And I'm also going to object on confrontation clause grounds. If this is some kind of communication with someone who's not going to be in here to testify, we wouldn't have a chance to confront and cross-examine them. So on those constitutional grounds, Judge, we would object.
First one, I think you've already handled, Judge. Second objection, I don't think there's any remoteness finding in this. This was covered earlier as well. And finally, confrontation clause A, this is not testimonial, it's not made to police, there is no confrontation clause violation. And under Brandon and various other cases, it is admissible as defendant's admission of the party opponent and the context put in based upon what the other parties are saying about it.
Admitted over objection.
Thank you. Okay, looking at States Exhibit 613, first of all, on the back, is this the actual whisper that he responded to?
Yes.
Okay, and just generally read that. What does it say?
It was really serious when
Sorry.
he said he wasn't going to talk to me anymore.
And the defendant responded to that.
He says, I'm sorry.
Okay, and going on down, does he say anything that identifies him as this is something, this would be him responding at 10:42 a.m.?
Yeah, I'm waiting to play guitar at the second service at church.
And later on in this conversation, at 10:53 a.m., does he say anything that's sexual of nature?
I'm really horny.
Okay, and how does this person respond? Screen name Keke, K-E-K-E.
She's like, in church, 2 exclamation points. The defendant's like, I know. Doesn't mean I don't want it.
Okay, now, I think the jury's heard enough of this, the language and stuff like that, but looking at message at 10:58 a.m., does he ask her a question?
Yep, yes, how old?
And does he follow with some sexually suggestive comment?
You mean you don't want to give me a blow? What?
I was going to ask you to just skim over that, but
Thanks.
you. All right. So the response of this person was, what did she say, or he say?
14, what are you talking about?
14, what are you talking about? And then do they go on about conversations in that regard?
They sex.
Okay. And does he respond at 11:14 a.m.?
LOL, I don't want to go to jail, LOL.
And then does he respond, and just, these are all within the same few minutes, correct?
Right.
Okay, and she says, how would you go to jail? And then he responds,
You're young. She's like, how old are you? He's like, too old, tell me.
okay,
26. She's like, smiley face emoji. Actually, probably wink. You can't go to jail over a picture.
is that what she says or what
That's
he
what
says?
she says, or Kiki says. He states, yes, I can, at 12:04. I'm sure it looks great, but that's a hard line to cross.
And then does he ask her to show a picture of her, and she sends a clothed picture of her?
She does.
And do they go on to talk sexually, or he go on to speak sexually in this conversation?
He does.
Now, are there other conversations within the Whisper app where he's talking about the age of consent as well?
Yes.
Things like that, okay. Now, are there other messages where he's talking about his wife and his life, about wanting to be single and things like that?
Yes.
To show you, I'm going to go through a stack of these, and I'm just going to remain up here with you, okay? Looking at State's Exhibit 614, you recognize this as a whisper conversation with a screen named Chrissy from December 25th of 2013, Christmas Day, about 6 months before the incident.
I do.
Okay, and is that a fair and accurate report from his phone regarding that conversation?
It does appear so.
And it doesn't talk about his marital status and issues in his marriage.
It does.
Your Honor, Tender States Exhibit 614.
All the same objections, not just the previous objections to this, but the objections I made on the prior exhibit as well. If I can just have all of those objections, I'll restate them if the court needs one to, but,
I'll incorporate them right now,
okay.
and I'll allow the item of evidence over those objections.
Thank you.
And prior rulings as well.
All right, Detective. Looking at the message that was posted, not by the defendant, what was the message that was posted?
I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing.
And does he respond?
He does. What are you doing?
And then what does he say after that?
I do those a lot.
What does Chrissy, the screen name, respond?
Cheating.
What does he say?
I cheat a lot.
Then what does she respond?
That's not good. Or SMH, shake my head. That's not good. Man or female. He responds male or man. I know it's not good, but I'm addicted to sex. And she's like, do you plan on getting married? He's like, I'm married. I know, I'm terrible.
And then does he go on to discuss his anatomy and things like that?
He does.
Okay. And does he also go on, does she ask him if he has children?
She does.
Okay. And what does he respond?
One kid.
Okay. Does she ask how old he is?
He does.
And
She
then-
does.
Okay. And in the midst of that, is he again talking about his anatomy?
He does.
And then does he respond after talking about that with the age of his child?
Yes.
Okay. And how old at that time does he say?
16 months.
Okay. Does she ask him a question at 7:17 p.m.? Looking at the top, sorry.
Are you something? Why don't you just divorce? Why don't you divorce your wife? Just a question.
Okay, what is his response?
Kid.
And then what's his next
And it's
response?
just sex.
And what is her response to that?
Just sex? Question mark. No, it's not.
And that's what she says?
That's what she says.
And then what is his response?
I know, I'm terrible. I told you already.
Okay. And then they go on about just random other stuff, not relevant to his marriage. All right, we're going to show you what's been marked as shown to defense at State Exhibit 635. Do you recognize this as a message between participant FP and the defendant from the Whisper application starting on February the 3rd, 2014?
I do.
And is it a fair and accurate report from his phone regarding a conversation he had with that user on
Yes,
Whisper?
Pearson.
Your Honor, tender states 635 pursuant to the defense's prior objections.
Same objection.
Same ruling.
All right. Now, in this chat, the post is not contained on here. But looking at it, he responded to some post. Okay, and what did he respond by saying?
I'd pay for it.
Okay, and then what does that person respond?
Where you live? He's like, Marietta, you? They're like, Woodstock. Defendant asks for a pick.
Does the person ask something else?
Yeah, the person asks, would you pay, by the way, I'm 17. He responds, yeah, you're legal. Person says, okay, how old are you? The defendant responds, 26.
Now, at the time, was he 26 back in February 2014? Okay. And then do they ask about paying again?
Yes.
And then what does he request?
Yeah, pick.
Is there conversation that goes on about her, he doesn't want anybody, she doesn't want anybody to find out she's selling her body and things like that?
Yep,
Okay, does he actually send a photograph to her?
he does.
And do you recognize the person in that photograph?
I do.
And is that the defendant?
That is the defendant.
Does she send a photograph as well? Or is a photograph sent of a girl?
There's a photograph of a young lady.
Now, looking at it, do they discuss price for sexual services?
They do?
Okay. And does he send a photograph of his anatomy as well?
Yeah, he does. Pick.
Okay. And does, after that, does she respond about what grade she's in and things like that, or what school she's in?
She does.
Okay, and where does she say she's in?
I'm in high school. What if you came during my lunch break?
And does he then bring up the app kick?
He does.
Now, does this conversation kind of go on about trying to set up a time to meet and things of that nature?
It does.
I'm going to move along. Or pictures sent from this person with her body.
They are.
I'm trying to skip along through. Is it all sexual in nature? Most of it that
Most
we've
of it,
seen.
I would say most of it.
Now, starting that day at 6:48 p.m. on February 3rd, 2014, the user that's responded that had posted that, what does that person say?
Positive, what you want me to do tomorrow?
And how does he respond?
Really risky?
Okay. What does she say?
The person says, tell me.
And then, without going into the details of what he says he wants to do, does he talk about sexual stuff?
Yes. Yes. Maybe
All right.
Saturday.
Now, what does she say right here at 6:59 p.m.?
No, I'm actually really classy. I live 2 lives. That's why it needs to stay between us.
How does he respond?
Defendant responds, I have 2 lives too. If she or the person responds, then we are perfect.
Without going into the details of the sexual conversation after that, at 7:06 p.m., what does he state to her toward the end of this conversation? What does he say to her?
Want to know how much if a double life I lead? Haha.
Okay. Is that the next day?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with these responses on here, looking at this, are you familiar with, I guess, operations by police and things like that, posing as underage girls
Yes.
and things like that? Did that appear consistent with it? It may not have been a girl, it may have been the police.
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to go to State's Exhibit 615. Turn your attention to this screen name Sweetness on January 25th, 2014. Is this a fair and accurate conversation printout of a kick conversation the defendant had on that day?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 615 pursuant to the defendant's previous objections.
Let me make sure, the last one that you just went over, what number was it?
614. No, excuse me, 635, yeah.
All right. And this is 615?
Correct.
Could you give me the date again, please?
January 25th, 2014.
January 2014.
Correct.
Same objections.
Same ruling.
Okay. And this message says, I'm still in love with my high school sweetheart. How do I get past this?
Correct.
Now, does he discuss his family situation in this?
He does.
Okay. What does he say in this conversation starting off?
Let me start here.
Yes.
Past what doll? Question mark. She's like being in love with somebody else. My husband and I both know we aren't in love, but for me, I stick it out for my kids.
And what does he say?
Defendant says, you're in my situation. Sweetness, dang, I'm sorry. What's your situation? Defendant married, one kid, fell for another girl. Now I'm addicted to sex.
That's a defendant's statement.
That's a defendant's statement.
And what does she say?
Sweetness says, nice. Defendant, I've ended up having sex with 4 girls in the last year.
What does she ask him?
She's like, wow, so why don't you get divorced? And he states, kid. It's the glue holding it together.
And what does she respond?
She's like, that is true,
And then what does he talk about?
but my secret sex addiction is real.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 16. Luckily, this is a brief message. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 616?
I do.
Okay. And how do you recognize it? A message from screen neighbor Sweet Butterfly from the defendant's phone in the Whisper app.
Correct.
And is it a fair and accurate report of his conversation with this user?
I do.
Okay. Your Honor, tender 616.
Same objection.
Same ruling.
And in this message, he responds to a post that talks about being a simple girl and sexual things in nature, correct? Okay. And how does he respond?
Sometimes being taken sucks.
And what does she ask?
Sweet Butterfly says, oh, why?
And what does he say?
Because I enjoy sex with different people.
Okay. I'm going to move on to some other conversations talking about being taken and things like that, marriage. State's Exhibit 617. Does this appear to be, is this a report regarding a conversation between participant LOL and the defendant on February 10th, 2014?
That's correct.
Okay, and is this, do you actually see the defendant's picture on the first page of this?
I do.
Okay, Your Honor, tender State 617.
Same objection.
Same rulings.
Okay. Now this post says, I think all females should submit to their men 21F. What does 21F mean?
21-year-old female.
All right. Do they go through in this conversation and start sending pictures and ask age, sex, and location?
I do.
And what does he say his age, sex, and location is?
26 male, actually 26/M, Marietta.
Okay. And do they exchange pictures?
I do.
When they talk about whether she's single or not, he asks if she's married. She says no, totally single, and he says lucky, LOL. Does she then ask him a question?
Are you married?
And what is his response?
Of course. I'm over 22 on Whisper.
Okay. And when he's talking about his sex life with his wife, does he talk about the problem about her not wanting a strong, dominant sex life?
Yes.
Okay. And then he corrects it to dominated.
Yes.
And then, looking at 8:43 a.m. on that day, does she ask him a question?
At 8:34, why'd you marry her?
Does he respond?
We were great, but she changed.
Okay. And is changed misspelled? Is that
Changed.
context?
Yeah.
Okay. For the record, how is it spelled in this message?
CHABGED, but she jabbed.
Okay. And how does she respond when he says, but she changed?
Oh, I see. Why don't you try counseling?
And how does he respond?
Defendant states we have, plus I kind of like being bad.
When she says, does she ask him a question or make a statement to him after that?
Well, you'll end up hurting her in the end.
What does he say about that?
Defendant states she's hurt me. She states how. He states therapy session, huh? Smiley face.
Then does he say what it was, how she's hurt him?
Yes, defendant states just small things like forgetting my birthday one time.
Okay. I'm going to move on to State's Exhibit 618. Is this a report of a chat from Whisper between Hurry St. Patty's, exclamation point, as the sender and the defendant on the Whisper app.
Correct.
Okay, and does this appear to be an accurate report and readout from that conversation?
It does.
Your Honor, attender 618.
Chuck, I'm sorry, I thought the prior exhibit was 618.
617.
What was it? Did you give me the date of that one? 618?
I did, yes, it was February 10th.
I got that, 618.
I was about to, it's March 10th, 2014.
Same objection.
Similarly,
Now, this post talks about it says, sometimes I wish I wasn't married, especially not to him. Okay, how does he respond on March 10th, 2014?
I hate being married sometimes too. I've started cheating.
And then what does she respond to?
Mary St. Patty's, I want to, I think, defendant come over. My wife is asleep. I want to meet a girl outside. Smiley face, LOL.
Okay, and then do they go in, or does the defendant start going into sexual conversation?
Yes.
Okay, and does it end shortly after that? States Exhibit 619 from April the 7th, 2014. Is this an accurate report of a conversation between Butter_Nut as the participant, other user, and the defendant on the Whisper app?
Yes.
Okay, and this is from his phone as well.
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, attender states 619.
Same objection.
similarly,
Okay, this post says, yes, I'm a small girl and I love big buff guys. Makes me feel safe next to them, and who doesn't love a nice body? Okay. The defendant, what does he ask?
How little are you?
And does she then give her height and weight?
She does.
Does he then send a picture, and she, I guess allegedly who she is, sends one back?
Yes.
Okay. Looking at April 7th at 1:10 p.m., what does he ask her?
Defendant, so how is a little cutie like you single?
What is her response?
I like to be single, LOL.
How does he respond?
Defendant, I kind of miss it.
What does she say?
I don't, LOL. Defendant, I miss being single. Defendant, LOL.
What does she say?
Oh, LOL, well, go be free. Defendant, it's not that easy, LOL. I understand. Perfect.
All right. States Exhibit 620. Is this another short conversation with an unknown participant on Whisper with the defendant from March 24th, 2014, early in the morning, starting at 7:40 a.m.?
It appears to me.
And is this a fair and accurate report from the phone of the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, attender States Exhibit 620 at this time.
Same objections.
and same rulings.
All right. Looking at this post, just calculated the days. I'll be on my period while on vacation. This means no sex with a husband. Score. How does he respond to the question on that?
Defendant, you don't want to f*** Cubs?
How does she respond?
She responds, no, I don't.
What does he ask?
Why?
How does she respond?
Because he lies, cheated, and verbal abusive. Divorce him.
Is that what the defendant says to
The
her?
defendant says to her, divorce him.
And then does he also say something else?
But I understand.
And then what does she say?
Waiting for a little while, kids.
Then what does he say?
My wife should divorce me and has no idea, but kids.
States Exhibit 621 from January 5th, 2014. This is a very short message on Kik with a username classic_Katie, K-A-T-I-E, between her and the defendant from the defendant's phone.
Yes.
Your Honor, attender States Exhibit 621.
Same objections.
Similarly,
This post says, I don't understand why anyone would ever want to get married. What does the defendant respond? How does he say? How does he respond to that?
It's okay, sometimes I want to be unmarried.
States Exhibit 622. Looking at States Exhibit 622, an unknown participant, the defendant messaging her in response to a post. Is that from the defendant's phone? Is that a fair report from that whisper in his response?
It is.
Okay. Your Honor, attender States Exhibit 622.
Same objections.
admitted,
Now, this post says, she's single and ready to mingle and has a girl's face. Okay. Now, this is on May 19th, 2014. A little less than a month before Cooper's death. At 6:44 a.m., how does he respond to that?
Wish I was single.
Turn your attention to State's Exhibit 623, a message the defendant sent in response to a whisper on May 23rd, 2014, between participant Princess and the defendant on the whisper. Is this a fair and accurate report from that whisper from that day?
It appears to be.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 623.
Same objection.
Same ruling.
This post says, I don't want to settle down, 21F, and wanting to live it up, smiley face. Okay. Now, how does he respond to that? What does he say on May 23rd at 3:04 p.m.?
Defendant says, I settled down, kind of regret it.
Now, turning your attention to State's Exhibit 624, a post message from the defendant between he and participant Dreamer of Another 2014 from May 28th, 2014. Having reviewed this, is this a fair and accurate report from a conversation the defendant had on that day with another user, Dreamer of Another 2014?
It does appear to be.
Your Honor, I would tender State's Exhibit 624 at this time.
Same.
Same.
It's funny, everything gets shorter the longer we go, so, all right. So, the post saying, so tired of pretending to be happily married when I want nothing more than to start over with someone better. How does the defendant respond to that post?
What's wrong in your relationship? Oh, I'm sorry, I went wrong. I'm a bit miserable too.
What does the Dreamer of Another 2014 respond?
What's wrong in your relationship? The defendant, no sex. You, question mark?
And how do they respond?
Sorry, that could be difficult. Usually there's an underlying reason for that if it is a woman. And then, he doesn't respect me. Defendant, why doesn't he?
And then does she respond, and was that the last response?
Yes.
Okay. Going to State's Exhibit 625. Again, is this another short message? This time, March 14, 2014, early morning hours. The defendant responding to a post from Delta Rebel.
Yes,
Is that from the iPhone as well, from the Whisper app?
it is.
And is that a fair and accurate report of the conversation?
It appears to be.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 625.
Same objections.
Same ruling.
Okay. The post says, I hate living with my boyfriend. I hate living with other people. I think I should just be alone most of the time. Okay, and how does he respond to that post?
I'm tired of living with my wife sometimes. LOL.
How does this person respond?
Haha, does it really ever go away? I didn't used to be like this. I don't think maybe I was always annoyed. I just didn't care as much. Ugh.
And how does he respond?
LOL, it sucks sometimes.
What does she say?
She's like, haha, I know.
Turn your attention to a post from January 21st, 2014, State's Exhibit 626. Is this a conversation between the defendant and his responses to a post by screen name user Spark Me Up?
Yes.
Okay, and it's a fair and accurate report of the conversation pulled from the defendant's phone?
Yes.
The iPhone phone?
It appears to be.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 626.
Same objections.
Same ruling.
Now, this post says, I can't read the top because can't read the first lines, but things to get crazy and out of control. I'm ready to just let someone have everything I have to offer. Okay, how does he respond at 6:18 p.m. on the 21st of January?
I miss being single.
How does that person respond?
Me toi, I am miserable.
How does the defendant respond?
I just want to fuck a lot of girls, drink a lot, and have fun.
Does she ask him a question?
ASL,
Okay, and how does he respond?
age, sex, location, question mark, 33/M/Marietta.
And then does he ask any other questions of her?
You, and then he sends a picture,
Okay, is that a picture of the defendant?
a picture of the defendant.
Does that person then that he's respond with age, sex, and location?
She does.
And does he ask for a picture?
Yes.
And does she ever respond to his questions after that?
No.
On February 9th, 2014, State's Exhibit 627, conversation between the defendant and a participant called Lonely. Is this a fair and accurate report of the defendant's response and conversation to user Lonely on the 9th of February 2014?
It does appear to be.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 627.
Same objections.
Same room.
That posted, is it bad that I thought I was pregnant and when I found out I wasn't, I was kind of sad? I'm only 17. How does the defendant respond to that?
You don't need a baby. It's not easy and expensive.
And what does she say?
She's like, I know.
What does he say?
I love my son, but that joker drains my paycheck.
And what does she say after that?
Yeah, I understand.
In State's Exhibit 628, chat message from February 22nd, 2014 with participant blank space. Okay, you reviewed this. It is a fair and accurate report of a conversation between the defendant and blank space from the Whisper application from his phone.
It is.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 628.
I'm sorry, Chuck, if I could have that date one more time, please.
February 22nd, 2014.
Same objection.
Same room.
All right, this post says, ease my pain, but I don't feel anymore, so now sex is something that's there to make me feel like I'm needed for something. How does he respond to that post?
I have sex with strangers to block out a lot of my pain.
How does she respond?
Really? Defendant, yes. I tried last night, was rejected.
How does that person respond?
Wow, that's interesting. And damn.
How does he respond?
Defendant, yep. Plot twist, I'm married.
How does she respond?
Dang, why not with the spouse?
What does he say?
Defendant, I like it. I like it with strangers.
What does she ask?
Why? Defendant, because it's like my drug.
Okay. What does she ask? Blank space.
Wow, do they know?
How does he respond?
The girls, do they know I'm married? Question mark. That and dose your spouse know what you're doing?
What does he say?
Defendant, they knew I was married. I don't hide it. My wife doesn't know.
How does she respond?
Lord, y'all have kids.
How does he respond?
One, how old? 18 months from the defendant. Awe from her.
All right. One more from this batch. All right. State's Exhibit 629. It's post from January 24, 2014 between visual lady _ lady and the defendant. Is this a fair and accurate report of the conversations between him, the defendant, and visual lady from January 24, 2014 from the Whisper app on his phone?
It does appear to be.
Okay, Your Honor, I tender 629.
Same objection.
Same room.
The post says, can't sleep at night because I am full of anger and regret. Okay. How does the defendant respond? What does he ask at 12:26 a.m.?
Regret over what?
What does she say?
Wasting my life in inconsequential things instead of doing things to be happy in the long run.
How does he respond?
I understand.
Then how does she respond?
What do you regret?
What does he say?
Defendant marrying early. She responds, one of mine is marrying late.
And then how does he respond?
I have a sex addiction I've acted on. I kind of regret that.
Are we moving to another topic?
Yes, Judge.
We'll break for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, close your notepads, leave them in your jury room. Let's remember our requirements. Open mind, no conversation with each other. Others, don't let anyone speak with you about the case. Absolutely no independent investigation. No contact, attorneys, parties, or witnesses. Enjoy your evening, 8:30 in the morning. I'll see you.
Let's all rise for the jury, please. Watch your step, one down.
We'll be in recess until 8:30 in the morning. Everyone have a good evening. Thank you. You just bring it in the office and I'll pick them up. You mind doing that? Now that you're up and settled, yeah, I think there should just be a sweater set or two. Yeah. Sweater all the time.